Welcome to the 52 weeks of scrapbooking. My name is Denise Cowell and I am a creative memories advisor in Ormond Beach, Florida. Let's just give everybody a second to join us. So if you have the book, remember we are on project recipe 17. If you don't, you can go to my Scrapbook with Denise Facebook group and it is wicked cute and it will be in the files section. So let me go to my desktop as we just wait a moment to see if we have people joining us today. I think I'm about 20 to 30 seconds behind today, so I'm just going to give it another minute and then we'll start. So you can get out your project recipe, either their book or download it, like I said, from there. And while we're waiting, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you like, subscribe, refer your friends, and again, join my Scrapbook with Denise scrapbook page. So let's get going here. You know, the first thing that we normally do, that I usually do, is, sorry, I'm just still trying to see if I'm live. So is we compare the project recipes, and this is going to be a pretty simple one today. And if we look at the cutting guide from the Wicked Cute and from the Boo-Yah, they are the same. And this is the first time it's a Halloween layout in both, and I actually have some Halloween pictures that I need to scrapbook. So this is a good time to do that. So let's talk about what I have. You're going to need 2 pieces of base paper, and I have black shimmer, and they've used black in the Boo-Yah, and there's a navy in the Wicked Cute. So I have 2 black shimmers. And now if we look at other papers, in Boo-Yah, I just had a whole bunch of scraps. And when I looked at this, I figured, you know what? I could probably use scraps. These are designer paper number 2 are all mattes. You only need I need a 5-inch sheet, actually, not even a half a paper for designer paper 3. And then when I was looking at these, A, B, E, and F, if you see those, E, E and F, sorry, right, they're all kind of cut together. So we are going to do that, to use these all on the same one, because this is, here we're going to punch the end, we're going to punch the end. These two are going to be a different color, they're going to go on these. So it's like, you know, I could probably get away with using these smaller pieces. So let's go and take a look at what I have. So what I'm going to do is paper C, which is a 5 by 12. I picked out this one for paper C. I did not have an entire sheet of the star. So this is going to be my paper C. So this is just going to be the middle one here. My M is going to be this one, right? And then for mats, it's like I have all kinds of papers I can use for mats. So when we get there, and these are going to be the greenish color mats here. The orange ones we're going to cut, but the green ones we're going to get out of here. A and B, I said to cut A and B out of this one. Yes, I'm going to cut A and B out of this one and then use the reverse. So I am going to do A, B, E, and F. Now again, when you're getting a project recipe, don't worry about, you know, what if you don't like both sides of the paper? What if you don't have enough? You want to use some scraps. As long as you can, like I did, make it work with papers, make it work for you, but we're still going to kind of follow the cutting guide. So you'll see as I go along. So let's look here. We'll turn this one over. So the very first thing that we are going to do is punch A. And one thing to talk about the punches, for the Wicked Cute, they just use the scallop burst border punch. So any kind of border punch. For Boo-Yah, they use the spiderweb frames, and we're not going to use it as a frame today. We are actually going to use it as a border. So remember, for a frame punch, you're going to cut along these silver lines is where you're going to line it up for a frame. Whereas for a border, we're going to do it like any other border punch, and we're going to line it up at the black lines. So let's do that first. And if we turn it over, we are going to cut A and B, and this is what I had selected for paper A and B. So we are going to cut a border and lining it up at the black lines. I need just a little bit bigger desk to have everything in camera. Line up on the shadows. And this is supposed to be 1 3/4 after we punch it, because this one does leave the edge, so we're going to cut it at 1 3/4. So you can use any edge punch, and this is going to frame a couple of our mats. So we'll clean this up, and we will cut this at 1 3/4. If you want to cut 1 3/4 on the right hand side, it's that very last line on your cutting mat. So it's going to be 1 3/4. We are then going to cut these down to being 4 inches. So 4 inches, we're going to cut right between, and we're going to be using the purple side of that one. So we're going to cut this at 4 inches. I'm going to have a little bit left over. Now this piece, we're going to punch it first, and then we're going to cut. So you can see here where it says we're doing E and F, right? Because C I'm doing on another piece of paper. So we're going to do E and F. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to punch first, sorry. I just want to see how big this is before we start, because my piece is a little over 6 inches. And that's the thing, if you're punching first and then cutting, it may be a little smaller. So I think we could do this one either way, that you could either punch first or cut first. So whatever kind of works for you. I am going to punch first. Again, remember we're cutting a little bit off the top, so our paper may not be that same size as it was to start with. So we're going to cut this all the way. 2 more punches. Okay, so we're done with our punch. Now we're going to cut this in half at 6 inches. And it should be roughly 5 1/4 by 6. So if we go 5 1/4, mine are going to be a little bit bigger. So let's cut this at 5 1/4. And maybe I should have cut that piece first. I thought I was pretty close. So half is at the edge. So I'm trying to line it up. This is 5. It would be 1/4 of an inch over. So that's roughly 5 1/4. So it's going to be 5 1/4 by 6. And this will hold, and it should cut between 2 of those, and this should hold a 4 by 6 picture. Or I think they may be a little smaller, 5 1/2 by 3 1/2. So those are our 2 mats. Okay, so now I'm going to cut C. Okay, so let's take a look where C goes. C and D are going to be these 2 outside triangles, and I am going to use this plaid paper, and we are going to cut this along the diagonal. So we are going to put the top corner, so I've got my paper here, so the top corner, we're going to put the right hand side along the cutting line, and then we're going to put the bottom, and it's going to be edge to edge. It's going to be tight getting that in here. It'll just fit, and we may have to trim the 2 edges. So line that up, and let's see if it goes. So we do have to trim with our scissors just a little bit, just to get that last little piece. Okay, and this is pieces C and D. So that's C and D, and they are going to go on the outside pages. I kept the stars for my middle because I liked the way that the stars went across here, and I kind of put these plaid pieces on the outside. So we're going to do that the same with our plaid piece. Just want to make sure this is going to work, because we're going to cut it like this. and it's going to go this way on the page. So again, we're going to line it up, the top, again, the top corner and the bottom corner. And I just want to see something, because this is going opposite on our page. This is not going to work the way that I want it to. If you see here, so this is going to be our outside edges. This here, I want the stars, and if I cut it the same way, there's no way that I can make this corner be up here. So I'm going to reverse my paper. This is something I wanted to check out, right? So if you see where I'm going, right? So this is going to be C and D in these two outside edges here, which will work. If I cut it the same way that it says the cutting mat does, and I'm just seeing, and it doesn't have any instructions. If I pull them apart, I'm not going to get that. I need it to be this way. I need to cut it this way, which is opposite, right? So either I cut my pieces N and O from this, is it N and O? N and M, this way, from the opposite, from the left-hand corner, because that will give me what I want. It's going to be narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. And it'll pull apart this way on my page. No, let me think about that again. Wait, that's why we're thinking about this together. Actually, they're reversing these two, right? So it's not the same. Good thing we talked this about together. And this is probably what you might do also, and you're telling me, wait a minute. So this is right for the outside. For these ones, they have it this way. That's why they're turning it this way. So I have the narrow. Okay, so we are cutting it with the right side up. Good thing I've just talked this through, and that's okay that we did this together and that you might do that. And that's how it'll go across the page. Okay. I have made this layout in the past. I can't find my old one. It must have been a book I gave to somebody. And I did look through this before I came on camera, but it's always good that we talk about things together so that you can kind of see the thought process, and you may have the same thoughts when you're looking at something to see how that's going to work when you're looking at a project recipe. Okay. So we'll just trim this last corner. And then the last thing we're going to do is cut mats. And what I'm going to do is get these on my page first and look at my pictures. I do have a bunch of leftover pieces to make mats out of. We are supposed to be making 3 4x4s, 4 4x4s, and 2 6x4s. But I have different pictures, so I'm going to leave the mats until I get everything laid down. I'll just put my trimmer out of the way for a moment. And let's get out our 2 13-inch mats. Let me know if you have your mats, your 2 13-inch mats attached or separate. I like mine separate. I haven't got them taped together, but I know some people do like that way. Okay, so let's see this now that we've talked through this. We have C and D, and let me turn this over and let me just get this a little bit better so you can see. So we have C and D, and then we have N and M. And yes, so that did work perfectly. So good thing I didn't turn it over. Good thing we thought about that before we went further. And then we have these 2 orange mats, which are E and F. Now, these 2 are going to go on some of our photos, so we're going to keep those till we decide what we're doing. And let me get my pictures so we can see what we want to do, because I do have like a horizontal picture, a vertical, sorry, horizontal, and I do need to trim these down a bit. I haven't done that yet. This one we can cut into a 4x4. Then we have another vertical, horizontal. I should just go this point and then that way. And they want the pictures to be 5.5 and 3.5. If you know and you've been following me, I usually only cut 1/4 of an inch off, not 1/2 of an inch. So I'm going to just cut off 1/4 of an inch. And this one will be tight. I can get 1/4 of an inch off of this one without cutting off. So I think 1/4 of an inch is good enough. I will cut 1/4 of an inch off of this one. And I don't want to cut off Mickey's hat, so I'm just going to take off 1/8 on the top and 1/8 off the bottom. Okay, so that is those ones. You will have a bigger border at the top of those. As you can see here, they have put some stickers. So now for these two, and I can do this one 4x4, so I am going to take 1/4 inch off of these two also. And I have enough room there to do that. And this one might be a little tighter. Well, Mickey's kind of hands are gone. Make it the same. And let's just cut a little bit here. And from the bottom. So there we go. Perfect. So now that I have these horizontals, and I had this one that I was going to cut, I think 4x4. It kind of doesn't go with that. I might see if I have some more of these Star Wars, his picture. So now I need 2 4x6 mats. And the paper I had out was either just to go with a cardstock or to go with stars. And I think I might just go with the cardstock. And I'm going to cut 2 frames that are 4x6. And this piece of paper is 6.5, so we're going to cut this at 6. And we will cut 2 4-inch mats. And then actually I'm going to do, I have one extra, so let's just leave that for a minute and see what we want to do with that. So we have one of those, and we have one of those. And then let's just look what else we're supposed to have. So we're supposed to have 2. So I could go and look to see if I have some extra paper. And then it has 2 4x4s. So I'm just going to take, this one I think is just a little too much. I think I'm just going to cut this one, and we're going to just cut a couple more, a couple 4x4s, and I want to see, oh, that's pencil mark. I want to see how this is going to look, because I might make these, see these two, one is a journaling box and one is just an embellishment cluster on there. So let's make these 2 4x4s. And, you know, we could add them differently, because these will go on here. So either there, or, and this one here. So that gives you an idea. So you don't need to follow where the mats. I might look for one more picture. I may, oh, this is the one with a pencil mark on it. The back doesn't go. So that could also move these around. You know, maybe I just want this in the middle, because then you kind of see more. So again, you don't need to follow what the layout is. And even that might be fine. I have a journaling box. I have a spot for an embellishment cluster. And what if we move these down? So again, you can play with the way that you want the mats. This was like basically easy for our base page. I can see this anytime you've got something that maybe is a little too, you know, bold of a paper for you. You can always just make that base page very simple, and then determine how you want to make your mats. And use, we know we've added some not embellishments, but some focus here with our punch. So that is project recipe 17, Wicked Cute or Boo-Yah. So hopefully when we talk through how to cut N and M to make them work, that kind of gave you some ideas of how to do that. And thank you for joining me today. Again, as I said, please like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet, as well. Join my Scrapbook with Denise Facebook group, and thank you for joining me and being here. Happy scrapping, and we will see you all again soon. Bye for now.